So now that we've learned a little bit about functions, what we're going to do is we're actually going to make a program, and then we're going to make it better by changing it around and using a function. So the first thing we're going to do is do file, save as, or I guess open up a Python file and then do file, save as, and then inside your computer science folder, you'll make a unit 6 folder, and you can call this one unit 6 lesson 1A, happy birthday, because we're going to sing the song Happy Birthday to whoever is using our program. So first thing I'd like you to do is add a comment at the top called Happy Birthday Program. And then here, remember, we've talked about the importance of using definition main now for our main program. So if we're going to use functions in our program, which lesson 6 or lesson 1A does, teaches us how to use functions, you're actually going to have to define your main program in a different way. So you can no longer just start writing your main. Instead, we have to do the DEF to define a function, and then we're going to have our main function here. We're going to get in that habit now as we start programming right away. So here, then we're going to do get user or get name from user, sorry. Because in order to sing happy birthday to them, we need to know their name. We're going to do name equals, and then we'll do just an input for a string value. What is your name? That's going to get the name from our user. And then we're just going to print happy birthday to them. So we're first going to print happy birthday, not using functions. So I can show you how we can make this program better by reusing functions to help us do repeated tasks. So here we're just going to print out the words of happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear, and then we'll put our name in there so we can sing it directly to them. So notice how I use the variable name here as well, so that I can sing happy birthday to them. And then I can print happy birthday to you. Okay, so now I've written my main. Now if I go to file and I run it, it doesn't do anything right now. And that's because when I'm writing programs in this way, focusing on the use of functions, I actually have to tell my program to run by writing main at the very, very bottom. So if I write this line of main, this actually runs the entire program. Okay, so it says, what is your name? I'll type in my name, and there it prints my happy birthday song to me. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make our program better. If you notice, you'll notice that there's repeated code here. We sing happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you 3 different times. Now, anytime that we have repeated code, this is a really, really good time to use a function. Now, I know this program is pretty simple, but the more you see repeated code, the more you're going to realize that functions really are the way to go. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add in an extra comment and say this is the main function for singing happy birthday. And then what I'm going to do is down below, I'm going to add kind of a line of hashtags there to separate it out. And then I'm going to define a new function and say this is the repeated happy birthday function. It's going to repeatedly write that happy birthday line. So we're going to create a new function. So we use the letters DEF for definition of a function. And I'm going to call this a happy function. Now, anytime that I type in happy and then parenthesis, this particular function is going to run. So now in here, I'm going to write this repeated line of code because that's what keeps being repeated in my program. So notice here that it says happy birthday to you down here. And so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to write down happy parenthesis here. And what this does is it calls the function named happy, which is right here. So if I run my program again, you'll notice, okay, I type in my name, and here it's giving me an error. Now, when we look at this, we're a little confused as to why it's giving us an error. What we're going to do is we're going to take this code and we're going to move it up above this main part here. And if we run it again, and we test it out. Notice how it works. So this is one error to be on the lookout for. This main, to run your main function, has to be at the very, very bottom of your program. If it's not at the bottom, your program actually is not going to run. Now, the other thing I want you to notice here is notice that I had this line happy here, but my program looks exactly the same. It's because the happy function does this repeated line of code. So what I can do every time I'm using this happy birthday to you line is, since I have a function defined as happy that prints happy birthday to you, I can replace every line that has repeated code with happy. Now if I run it, you'll notice that my function allows me to simply call on another function called happy. So instead of having to type this longer line of code, I can type it once, and then I can use this little function call instead. So notice the slight difference here. Our program does the exact same thing, but now we're writing functions anytime that we have a repeated line of code, which really is the best type of coding practice. So be on the lookout for that. Anytime you repeat something over and over and over, whether it's a print statement, whether it's an actual function like you're calculating something, this is a great time to create a function that you can call. Just remember, your main function needs to be at the very, very top. Any other little function that you write, you kind of separate out using hashtags and you define it. And then at the very, very end is your main call. Remember, this runs the entire program. I'm putting in a note, it must be at the end in order for your program to actually run.